You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
You have reached Hardware is Forever. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Chris Bintliff, and I'm here with Jay Patel, and he's the CEO of Amtech. And Jay, you have so many interesting ideas and thoughts to share, and I want to start with a discussion that you and I were kind of kicking around, value versus cost. And I think this is extremely important for businesses of any kind, but particularly small mid-market organizations, organizations that have dynamic pricing functionality or who are consistently trying to increase efficiency, save money here, do this there, present themselves in such a way with their own goods and services. There's a lot of layers to it. Welcome. And let's start with just help me understand what you mean when we're talking about value versus cost. How are they not the same thing, or how are they the same thing?
Yeah, so the way that I look at it is this comes from experience when we select actual vendors here at Amtech. So, I think our experience can kind of be appreciated everywhere else in all the industries, or anybody who's looking for a partner to help their organizations be better, or supply chain partner, or whatever it may be. I think when we come here at Amtech, we need goods and services to be able to do what we do, and there's multiple people out there, especially in a global economy, that provide that. But sometimes when we evaluate things, we found that if we go for the lowest price, we're leaving something out. And what we found is if we pay a little bit more and get value, these partners who supply us products or supply us services also become almost they also start adding value, and they get invested into our business. So they help us become better. We've done that in multiple instances for multiple commodities. They come in and they kind of invest in us and make us better. And without those organizations that we've paid a little bit more to, we wouldn't be here where we are today.
I love that. One, from just a service provider point of view, it's very easy to say, okay, let's undercut, or let's discount, or let's go for the cheapest. And you're right, that very often doesn't leave us any room for the investment of the relationship. And then, as you're describing, as a as a purchaser of goods and services, you're not always looking for the cheapest. You're looking for the best under the circumstances. And I love what you're describing as you share kind of, you get an investment, a return on that investment, when you're not so worried about how little can we pay, but instead what's the best experience that we can get. One of the things that you shared that I really like is you kind of have 3 rules around this, and let me lay them out so that we can then connect on each of them. Rule 1 is you say more eyes mean less or fewer blind spots. That's interesting. Rule 2 is have allies. What does that mean? And rule 3, what can you really afford, and what can you absolutely not afford to screw up? So let's go to rule 1. What do you mean in this context when you're talking about how more eyes mean fewer blind spots?
Yeah, I think, we all get into business, and maybe it's just me, but we have the hubris of youth. Like, yeah, I was born, I will be better than my forefathers. I will do it better in every single way. And I think, I've learned the hard way that is not necessarily true. So when you invite people in and find those guys in, they help you see things that you can't see. Like, at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. And if you have these partners and you invest in them, they can help you provide some catastrophic events for your business, and maybe downturns for your business. So rather than, firefighting or spinning your wheels, you're always making progress, because this one little tidbit that this one vendor gave you, it could be a sentence, it could be just whatever, completely change the way you look at something and change your strategy. So then you avoided this issue altogether.
I love this idea of maturity, which is what you described, as you said, like, we all bring kind of this hubris in. That's absolutely true. And I find there are many managers who are of a certain age, it doesn't matter, who are still stuck in a point of view where I'm right, or I know better, or I know best. And when you can, someone else described it to me once as help me see what I can't see, or help me see what I don't see. That's one of these 1+1 is 3 types of situations where you're so much better together, and probably you bring something or perspective or context to that relationship that they benefit from as well. It becomes one of those things where this is the favorite person I have to work with, or I love to call this person, or it's always great when we get together because they have such great ideas. You're starting to complement each other and not just, I guess, sort of help each other in business. You're starting to do bigger or more than that. And that, I guess that connects pretty strongly to this rule 2, which are surround yourself with allies. So that person would become an ally. But what do you mean?
So I think, I got introduced to the hero's journey a while back, and I don't know if you're familiar with the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And I think it's a phenomenal tool to understand life and understand challenges in life. And I think one of the things that we always look at, whether we're watching movies, whether it's Marvel, Lord of the Rings, whatever it may be, there's always allies in their journey. And I feel like those allies sometimes lift us up when we get tired. And if you don't have an ally, somebody who's rooting for you, and you're in it for yourself or in it by yourself, like, you got to be the smartest person in the room. And I think in history, nobody's ever been the smartest person in the room. So if you don't have allies that are giving you good direction, or when you're down, lifting you back up, or or challenging your decisions, and they're invested in you, and more than financially care about you and for their welfare and our welfare, they care about your overall health, whether it be financial or mental or physical health. Like, they invest in you, they become those allies that kind of lift you up and guide you and support you in your journey, whatever it may be. And like, of course, it's vice versa. We would end up becoming their allies as well. But without those allies, I don't think you can. There's no way you can do it alone. Like, you just cannot. You have to have help, and you want those allies that are invested in you to have the help. And to get those allies, you have to invest yourself in others as well. And that may be one of the differences between value and cost.
I think that's a great point. I was just going to kind of ask that. How much of that is a function of an organization's culture, or a function of an organization's sort of core principles or core values, where it's not just an accident, or there's just not just 1 or 2 people who are really giving in this space, but the entire organization tries to be reciprocal or complementary to others in this space. What I don't know how you've done that at Amtech. What are some ideas that you have around how do we make this part of who we are and not just stuff we do?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people out there, and I always have, always have a saying that it has to be a good fit. You can only be married to one person at a time, and that's it. So and there's nothing wrong with it. So you always have to find if it's a fit or not. And the way that we do it is we have our core values, we have our core purpose. And when we take a look at that, we look at our core values and we look at our core purpose, and we really say, will this person support us, or will this person help us implement or integrate these things in our organization to make us better? We really use that as the litmus test. And when we find people who meet our core values and meet our core purpose, then we align with them. And sometimes if they may not be interested and we're very excited about them, we know they can add value, we knock on their door and we kind of sell ourselves and say, hey, we think you can do some really great value. We may not be your size, we may not be your niche, but we really want to work with you so we can become better. How can we make that happen? So to a certain extent, we go out there and actively find allies. They may not be interested in us, but we are interested in them, and we try to make them partner with us. And it's been, once we made that shift, it's been phenomenal. Like, we've been able to find people in our ops team, leadership team, and vendors and suppliers that they just look out for us and make sure that we're doing the right thing. When the supply chain issue happened, I had so many vendors come out and say, like, Jay, this is happening. This is how this is how we need to manage it, and let's manage it together. Or look out for this. This is what we need to do. And look out for this. This is what people are doing in the industry now. So you can manage this type of situation. So that type of, they called us because we had that relationship and we reached out to them, and vice versa. We built that relationship.
That's tremendous. That says a lot about the relationships that have been built around this. How does that technically or functionally work? Because I feel like there's a lot of organizations that put fancy posters on the wall of their core values or whatever, but they don't necessarily apply them. They don't use them as sort of a check or balance. They don't sort of use them as a filter through, all right, let's make these decisions. And are they being made aligned to what we said was important to us? They sort of, this is what we hope was important to us, or we would like to think this is important to us. Like, are you in a room with your executive team and you're sort of thinking like, look, this situation really aligns with what we believe? Or how does it functionally work that you just have figured out a way to make this happen inside the organization where everybody understands what's expected? And what do you do when you bump into friction on that? Is there like a, hey, this isn't consistent with what we've all said is important to us, so let's do this? Like, if you don't mind, how does that work a little bit?
So I think there's a process to it. Like, whenever we make those type of decisions where there's strategic relationships, we always get our leadership team involved. And the leadership team buys into the core purpose and the core values of the organization. So I am a typical guy who I used to say, hey, this looks like a great situation. We're pivoting right now. And there would be like 5 pivots a month because I was just, pivoting. And then I think when we had decided to implement this type of culture and process in, it was a little bit of a struggle for me to transition. But, it's been phenomenal since we did start implementing that. So I think the first thing is what we did was we created a leadership team that we can bounce ideas off of. So any type of strategic decision that needs to get done, it goes through the leadership team. So that's the first step, is find people who will be part of your operations team or leadership team that you can bounce ideas off of and you can trust them to give you the right advice. Number 2 is, and then leverage them. Every decision that you need to make, big or small, leverage them in that decision, because again, you don't know what you don't know. So if you have these allies, they will help you see the blind spots, and they will help you avoid going onto the wrong path, essentially. So that process was done. And then number 2 is, not number 2, but then transitioning to when there is a friction point, what do we do? I think one person told me very, very well, like fire fast, and hire slow. Mm-hmm. So when we feel like it's not a good fit, I don't think we make it personal, right? Like I said, you can only be in a relationship if it is a good fit. And if it's not a good fit, it doesn't mean that the organizations or the company or even the members on our staff are bad. It's just, it doesn't meet our core values, and we try to manage that. And if we have to end that relationship, we do it amicably, shaking hands and just say, hey, look, good luck. We tried it, but this is not a good fit. And we want everybody to be successful. So I think the best thing to do right now is maybe go our own ways.
That's anytime you can have a relationship with your sort of hiring and firing, or your talent sort of point of view that is built on you are amazing at this job. You're just not maybe amazing at this job here for whatever reason. And then you can help people support. I'm reminded of a Steve Jobs sort of quote that said something like, the most cruel thing you can do is not give the people that you work with honest feedback, or let them go when it's time to go, because they will survive or thrive somewhere else. So writing down this stuff, listeners, as you are, build your leadership team, leverage your leadership team, hire slow, fire fast, meaning cultivate the people that are going to be a part of that journey in the best way, and then let those that need to go somewhere else to be their most successful, let them go, and don't make that a stressful thing for everybody. Make that amicable or healthy. So your third rule that I really love, talk to me about this, is what can you really afford? So when you think you can't afford to pay more, when it's really down to it, that's kind of when you actually need to start paying more attention to what you're going to spend. Tell me about that. Walk me through that.
Yeah. So, we found that when there's ups and downs of businesses, we'll do really, really well. And that sometimes there'll be situations that we're either in our control or sometimes not. Like, we could have a bad hire, we could invest in the wrong equipment, or there's just geopolitical issues or supply chain issues that come up that really stress the organization. At that time, cash flow is tight. Some other things are tight. We're not in the right mindset to make a lot of the right decisions because we're just fighting to survive the day. And I think at that time, when you're in that situation, you cannot afford not to find partners that add value like this, because first of all, if you pay, even 5 to 20% more for a particular commodity, that may not put you out of business, right? But if you do pay 5 to 20% more for a particular commodity, and I'm not saying not do that. I'm not saying that you should, do your best pricing analysis, do all that kind of stuff, do what makes sense for your organization. But for us, what we found was that when we are going through a tough spot, we want those guys who we can kind of leverage, and they can make us better. Like, hey, we're having this issue with this. Could you, our suppliers, like, we're having an issue with this. Could you really help us out? Like, how do we strategize? Could you just, like, this is a pain point that we have. Can you just take care of it right now for us? And they jump on the ship. They're like, yeah, we'll take care of it for you. And we do the same thing for our customers. So I think, like, when you're going through bad times, a friend in need is a friend indeed. And I think you want to make sure that you develop those type of relationships, so when you do need them, they're taken care of. And the reason why I say pay a little bit more is because, like, they need to know that you appreciate them. And you can say as much as you want, but if they come back, sometimes we've gotten quotes or hired people, they say they want this much, and we give them more than what we had negotiated, because we want to show them that we appreciate them and we value them, because they go above and beyond. It could be a very easy transactional relationship, but they go above and beyond, and they invest themselves in us. So, like, when things are bad, to have people like that, or a network ready to support you like that, could be the thing that makes or breaks you.
What a tremendous strategy. So think about that, the level of sort of self involvement or reward that goes into wanting to give back to a relationship that has obviously invested in you, versus something else where, like, I grumble through this job, I don't get paid nearly enough, I should have renegotiated 3 years ago. And so when things get tighter, the wind comes up, they're not too keen to, like, get involved. And as you're describing it, it's this, I love this level of sort of mutual trust and investment in each other, whether it's your team or your suppliers or whatever, that just says, let's do this together. Is that a strategy that works across just about any dynamic? So we're in this kind of manufacturing space, but is that something that you apply elsewhere in your life, if you don't mind? Is that somewhere that it just kind of is a way to live, not necessarily just a way to do business?
I think definitely it is. And people think that we have different commodities and we're different industries, and at the end of the day, we're in a people business. Everybody's trying to solve a problem, and it's a people business. So unless you nurture those relationships, whether it's in business or even personal relationships, you're not going to get anything back. So I think that is one of our MOs. And I think that's why when we were thinking about creating our core purpose, our core purpose is to pay it forward. And, we could have said a lot of it, like, we're going to revolutionize electronics industry, or, do this in supply chain. But what really spoke to us is because, reality is people invested themselves above and beyond in us. And the only thing we can do is pay it forward. Like, we know where we are, and we know why we are where we are. And it's because of people's trust in us. And, that idea of paying it forward, or that idea of putting gratitude in action is, I feel, the difference maker in every organization. And, we've had customers that, and vendors that we've decided not to go to because for pricing. And then we're like, we made a mistake. We got to come back to you guys. You guys are a little bit more, but man, you guys really took care of us. And we stay loyal to them then. So, but I think it's definitely applicable everywhere we go. And I think everybody can say that they're here because somebody selflessly gave them something, or gave them an opportunity, or gave them support. And to not to is kind of sad. So I feel like it's definitely applicable in every industry and every relationship, whether it's business or personal.
How does all of that, Jay, apply to your approach to your customers, to the relationships that you cultivate and nurture as a service provider?
So I think for us, number one, when we're able to have those type of relationships with our customer, it's joyful, right? We enjoy working with our customers. We enjoy adding value to our customers. So, they may not need a lot of our experience or advice because they already have it, but just for the fact that they open and let us talk and let us engage with their either supply chain departments or engineering departments or finance departments to find a way to help their organization be better and grow. I think that provides a sense of joy. But, a lot of our customers will talk to us and say, without you guys engaging with us and asking these questions, like, we would be at a different financial state right now. And when we hear that, like, that's it. That's why we come to work every single day. And that's why we do what we do every single day. And get that sense of, it's not really like we don't need to be appreciated. We're not there to say, okay, we're not here to get a bunch of thank yous, but just to know, like, just like people invested in us, like, we are paying that forward and making other organizations and people better. And I feel like we've done that so many times that it's ingrained in us. Like, we go above and beyond. Like, we're just not, a built to print shop. If you allow us to engage, which we love, the value that we add, I don't think can be quantified. And a lot of our customers, one way or another, have told that to us.
Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech, and you've kind of lived this even in the last 15 minutes we've spent together, in your generosity with your point of view and your perspective on this that is really interesting and in some ways original and unique, and in other ways just positioned in a way that is really accessible. Thank you for that. I'm looking forward to our next conversation and the one after that and the one after that. And thanks for leaving us with some really strong things to think about, I think, in business and in life today. I appreciate it. It's been good to be with you.
Chris, it's I get opportunities to talk to a lot of people, and I appreciate you taking time out and asking me these great questions. I think and pulling the best out of me. So I really appreciate that.
Always, man. Good to be with you.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Hardware is Forever is designed, tested, engineered, and built by the manufacturing experts at Amtech. Learn more and let us help you envision your next project with a free Design for Manufacturing assessment at buildamtech.com/DFM.